Hey guys,
Up.
welcome back to another episode of the DeepOnes podcast. Today I'm joined as always by Mr. Turtle,
Sup?
and today we have special guest Craig. You may know him from the Spark Theory.
What's up?
So, Craig's Spark Theory involves the multiple different types of sparks that we see in Nactigonus's inventory during the crab leak, and how they might potentially be used to modify the spells within the game.
So basically, the whole thing with the spark theory that I came up with in terms of like spells and stuff was that within like the more later leagues, like the crab league and stuff like that, um, the one thing I couldn't help but notice is the fact that within people's inventories, even now within like leaks and stuff, is that I feel like sparks play a very important role, whether it be like first spell modification and stuff like that, but more rather, what I'm trying to say is basically they take up a strong importance within Deep Oaken, is what I'm trying to say. Because if everybody has these sort of sparks, then it probably means something within the game itself that's much more major. So, an example in my theory at least is, so there are multiple sparks that are named certain things, which are pretty specific for certain sparks. So, like armored spark, chain spark, fortress, glacier, magnet, mirror, reversal, round, spring, tornado, triple. All of these things have some sort of action to them if they are an action. So, and we can see those things in game as well within like stuff like tornadoes, mirroring stuff, or chains, for example. Even within the more like recent leaks within Nano's leak, not leak, but video, where I remember near the end there was like a shot that he shot out, and there was a chain between his character and the person that he was fighting. So that just adds more to, the name of these things. Because what I strongly believe is that you would somewhat or somehow use these sparks to combine them within spells, and then they would have a more, they would be the ones that would be giving these spells, their certain moveset. So a mirror spark, for example, would mirror things, and then a chain spark, whatever that would mean, would chain stuff. So an example would be within the earlier Deep Open Direct, where it was either Rag or Arch showcased, or was it during the Q&A? Either way, where Rag and Arch showcased tossing a lightning ball, and it chained between all 5 people that were standing there. So that's just one thing that the spark theory suggests that I made. But the thing is, that's pretty much all I'm assuming, because like let's say you can combine these sparks together, so a tornado spark with a mirror spark or a spring spark. What you could do, for example, would be you put a spring spark on one of your spells that have a fire flare to it, because we already know that you can pick between different elements and have 2 of them together. So what you would do is you would combine a spring spark with the tornado spark, and the spring would launch you up into the air, and the tornado would create a tornado flare around you. And combine that with an elemental flare. It makes sense in the terms of where my thinking comes from, because while all these sparks are named what they are named, it's just too much of a coincidence that they are named all these sorts of things. Like some of these things we don't really know what they could possibly do, like a fortress spark. Like, take that as you will, that's more of what that could do rather than something else. But yeah, no, add on if you want, please.
Well, the Fortress Spark could actually be used for the counter moves, which were shown in Nano's video, I'm pretty sure, where he showed a counter ability which only countered certain magics.
Yeah, I could see that happening. But within more recent leaks that we got from like videos and stuff, especially with even in Agamatsu's video and Nano's video, whenever Nano goes to grip, and YPC Nate for that fact, especially him, when somebody dies in YPC Nate's video, I can't remember where, but it was in like a short little snippet before they go black and cut to something else. They show a player's corpse that have like these round little balls. I'm not really. It's kind of hard to explain without showing what they are, but they're basically round little balls that have certain stuff on them. Which I noticed one of them had a certain thing to it, like a little tiny thing sticking out of it. Let me see if I can find a picture. So another thing I've shown from like the pictures over here, in Agamatsu's video as well, in terms of like spells and their general like more element based, you could say. In Agamatsu's one video, when he completes the quest, before it cuts out to him getting on a ship, you can see like an item that's in green called a Thunder Call Codex get added to his inventory, along with multiple sparks. So if that just adds on to what sparks are being used for. But in terms of like elements and stuff, I believe that codexes, which if you play multiple games, codexes are used for multiple things, whether it be like spell based, for example. The only thing that can pretty much come up to my head right now would be League of Legends and how they have codexes as well, and they're more like magic based. And I think that they're more like they're basically books that you get, and when you use them, they add points or certain like they basically increase your elemental tune to that whatever element you have.
Or perhaps it could be something like maybe that's how you unlock a spell, because notice how Rag has said that like you can turn a fireball into like a close ranged grab at one point in the Q&A, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps like every spell has to like originate as something. So maybe like every sword move we see in the game originated from the same like basic sword slash, but with just different sparks added on.
My idea when I first saw it,
but that's purely speculation on my part.
Yeah, true. But my idea was that when I first saw it, was kind of went with the Skeptile theory about it, but it was more of a like you unlock your ether, and from there you have to find the right codex which would fit your magic.
Then again, didn't Rag or Arch say that you started like you can pick between which element you want to start off with, and we know that people don't like you start off with ether right away from the
Fat League.
The DeepOken Fat League, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I believe that is true. Where Rag uncoincidentally messed up and opened the game up to the public, because there's no way that you'd put all that hassle just to fake a leak like that. Within it played the music that Noctagonus showed off with the Forest theme and stuff like that way before he even showed it to anybody else. So I'd want to say that leak is much more valid in terms of evidence and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, but yeah, spell wise, sparks in all, sparks are basically going to be a major thing that people are going to need within DeepOken. And another thing that I can add on to this is it was either in Nano's video or it was either in Demstorm's video, there was an item within his inventory called Produce Spark. So what this makes me believe is that while people are going around getting these multiple, they basically go around Monster Hunter World style and get items from monsters or get certain items from completing quests and stuff like that. And they're in DeepOken alone, there are from the Crab Leak alone, we already know that player inventory management is going to be, an issue that players are going to face because
Yeah, like
you are going
from
to
the
have a
amount-
limited amount of storage.
yes, they're probably gonna add something like I don't know, like a bank system, but something more advanced than Rogue. Because I don't see them
Probably
like
going to be like that.
Yeah, maybe
yeah,
your ship
just
could have
something
like a
that
storage on it
allows
or
people
something.
to-
Mhm.
Yeah, or like in major towns, something like that. Because
It
I don't
also
see
seems
them
like
focus-
strength or fortitude or one of those stats will have an effect on your storage capacity as well.
So yeah, similar to like Fallout, for example. I mean, I
Yeah.
love Fallout to death. I've played it. Like I've played all the games in Fallout. So it could be something like the thing system. What was it? Oh god, I'm having a brain fart. What was it? The special system. There you go. I was having
Oh,
a
yeah.
brain fart there for a minute, where you can put certain points into your special stats and stuff like that. So you could possibly do something similar to that. And in Agamatsu's video, like you can see, destruction in terms of like you can see like environmental destruction. While we did know that like environment, like you could affect the environment in terms of like, oh, you can burn down a tree, or you can freeze a certain amount of like land and stuff. But knowing that you can impact like the actual like terrain and stuff, not so like impactful as in like World of Magic, where you do one spell and it like removes half of the town, but
Yeah.
more so it's more light in terms of destruction, you could say. Okay, so to add on to like the whole spark thing, basically within people's inventories, we can also see that like that they have certain cores and stuff. So it's all speculation, but I strongly believe that like cores and like all these other stuffs that have a certain like name to them and flares and stuff like that, they'll all be somewhat important in something, regardless of if it's for like spells or weapons or stuff like that. In Agamatsu's video, for example, we can see schematics and stuff like that, where they are a thing in terms of that maybe they're schematics for a ship, maybe they're schematics for a certain weapon, or
Armor.
you can armor, for example,
Or even accessories.
Or maybe infusing your armor with a certain amount of a fortress spark, or like a core, for example, making it
Yeah, that
stronger.
was like one of the ideas
Yeah,
I
maybe.
had. I'm not sure if we talk about it in the podcast yet, but
Yeah,
I
we
did
did.
have the idea that you can imbue like certain accessories like rings with sparks.
Or
to-
perhaps they give
to, like,
you somewhat buff.
yeah, to increase like the power of your magic. So if you, let's say, put a push spark onto your ring, your push ability from your air magic would push the person further. But if you, let's say, had another ring, which gives you the bigger pull range, then it would basically make both of them a little bit weaker as to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you
Also,
had, let's say, if you had like two of the same one, it just wouldn't stack, so it would be like pointless. Because if it could stack, it would be like quite overpowered, in my opinion.
Mhm.
yeah. So passing like spells and stuff, we do know that pure mage is also an option, but we don't really know how that would work.
Yeah, we've yet to see like any staff or anything,
An
but I'm pretty
actual-
sure
yeah.
Archmage or Archmage, I don't know how to pronounce it. But he does mention like at some point that pure mage is a thing, and you can use like he said like maybe they can use like a staff or something instead of a sword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be more of a equipment based more than a weapon based and skill based as well.
Yeah,
like
but
before.
then you also got to keep in mind those people with, stabs and stuff, they are going to need, probably a bit more power in terms of the fact that they can't really attack people because it's a staff.
I mean, they could like be like staff M1s and parries with a staff.
Or perhaps you just cast stuff much more quicker than a normal person would.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
could be the case.
because like they could use like the course, for example, to imbue the armor, whatever, with the magic, and from there make it so that your ether regenerates faster, or let's say find an item which makes your ether regenerate faster.
Because we already know that notes are the main currency of Deepwoken in terms of
Yeah.
how you buy stuff. And in multiple videos and leaks and stuff like that, you can see certain requirements for certain weapons. Like in Nano's most recent video, he goes over a parrying dagger, and it shows more detail in terms of like, I'm assuming to be attack speed, what requirements you need for it, and how far you can hit, perhaps, and how much damage it does overall.
Yeah.
Actually, continuing a bit, well, let me just quickly find something. But if I remember correctly, there was something like intelligence on the stats.
Yeah, there was
shown.
intelligence.
Yeah, there
So
is
maybe
intelligence.
depending on how high your intelligence is, your ether regenerates quicker.
Yeah, it could be something like that.
So
Yeah.
that could actually allow you to just go with the mage build and having your thingy regenerate quicker.
Then again, I do remember them saying, the older age your character is, the more potent they are with their ether. I don't take that out of my mouth, but
I can't recall them saying that. I do recall them saying that the older you are, the more powerful you're probably gonna be. Because, you've been alive longer.
I think what they meant by that is just that, like, if you're older, then it's of course going to be obvious that you progress your character and you, like...
Yeah.
You have more skills, etc. That's what they think they meant by that.
Yeah, I don't think age has any actual effect on gameplay, but I might be wrong too, so
I mean, they did say that your character can't die of old age, so
yeah.
that makes me believe that there's maybe like a fountain of youth somewhere.
Yeah, they did mention it. We do have a theory about it, and with the glowing eyes leak, but that's for the later video. But it's that if you did crime, for example, and you were old, whatever, you could use the fountain of youth, and the NPCs could just forget you, because they don't remember you. They don't remember you as the young person. They remember you as this old man. So if you went to the fountain of youth, but to counteract this, so let's say if in one town you were like portrayed as a horrible person who murdered like 20 NPCs, you go to the fountain of youth. You would have to use you would have like a menu, whatever, which would which would force you to choose a certain a new flaw to go with your character as a payment, because they did say I'm starting here. They did mention that if there was something like that, there would be a great flaw,
downside to it.
Great downside.
Yeah,
to
they
it,
mentioned there would be a cost.
Cost.
Because I mean, you do need to realize you are basic. I guess I'll just say what I was gonna say, but like, you do need to keep in mind that you're basically reverting your old age into a much more younger version of yourself. So the cost would be pretty heavy.
Also, probably, I think if there was something like let's say a friendship mechanic in thingy, but I doubt it will because it was never represented. Well, friendship as in like, well, if it was something like friendship, maybe it was something like how famous you are, as in how good you were in the town.
I mean, yeah,
like you were like
town reputation.
If you did that, you would also lose that benefit as well. So like you would.
Oh yeah.
Any like relationship you had with NPCs, towns, whatever, it would be wiped.
So adding on to like the whole forgetting part, I feel like the stranger system in Deepwoken, the way that they have it, where you have to say your name, it's very similar in the terms of Tales from the Valley, because in Tales,
with the real name.
With the real name and stuff like that. Where in Tales you had to say your real name and then I entrust you or something like that. Can't remember. Pretty sure it was I entrust you.
Yeah.
Because I used to play Tales a bit when it first came out. But you had to say that with your real name, and pretty sure you'd be linked to them in terms that you would It's been a while since I played Tales, but I think it's I think it's like more friendly fires off or something like that, or you like share XP or something like that. I can't remember, but it's something similar to that.
Yeah.
But if there is a system like that in DeepOken, that would be kind of interesting. But the fact is that we do know that there is like no friendly fire, but we don't know that for a fact yet. Then again, if there was friendly fire, pretty sure there would be certain, things that don't attract this to your character, similarly in like Rogue, for example, where if you try and cast the spell on, a housemate, it won't work. For example,
Yeah, like Sagita.
Hystericus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sagita, Hystericus, stuff like that.
Yeah, that might be
So-
for things like the chain
Like
like
guilds.
lightning spell that you saw that we see
Yeah.
I
Large
think like
use?
it shouldn't be for like if you just gave you the name. I think it should just be more of like in Rogue where it just gives you the if you are in a guild together. Because if you were like know the name and he obviously started attacking you, then you wouldn't be able to use some of the abilities on him because you like know him. So if it worked like that, it would just be like, I don't know, annoying. Not annoying per se, but just give you that insecurity per se.
Also,
Like,
the
Wait,
even-
so what you're saying is that if you join a guild, you'd get like you'd know the name of the people in the guild?
Yes.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean it
Yeah,
would.
like not
The thing-
automatically, but I think you should at least like seen them to know or something like that.
Like who they are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only thing that kind of makes me curious is the way that you actually invite people to a guild. Whether it be like you go to a certain area and talk to a person and you give them an invite, or you say something in the chat, because we already know stuff like that exists in DeepOken with the stranger system where you have to say your full name and
Mhm.
it will appear on the leaderboard. So there might be a phrase that you say to invite people to your guild. Because we already know that there isn't a signet ring or something similar to that in DeepOken, because we've looked at people's inventories and stuff like that, where they don't have a signet ring that they could use on housemate or something like that, or person.
That's what actually would be thingy. If it also worked with something like you didn't have to like have a person in your server to like kick them, you could just say like their name and then say I don't know, disown you. You could just automatically kick them from the guild, so you don't have to like chase all around the
Yeah.
fucking server, just looking for one person to like kick them out of the guild, which costs
Mhm.
havoc in your name.
Yeah, I could.
It just make it
That'd
easier
be
to
okay.
manage.
Yeah, easier to manage would be pretty nice.
Also, yeah, in actually talking about what I said earlier about the like you knowing every single person in your guild, I think it should be not that you know the name automatically, but that it has like a symbol next to his name or something like that to know that they are alike to you as in the same guild.
I mean, yeah, there is somewhat of a thing like that in terms that you can see a guild name always. Even if you don't know their
Yeah.
real name, you can see, a guild name of what
Oh,
guild
yeah.
they are in. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, like, you need to realize who you're getting, attacked by or, like, what guild.
Yeah.
Because,
Sure.
if you want some sort of retribution from them, that's kind of the way that you're going to be getting it.
It could be actually also cool if like your guild had it is like kind of in Rogue how you can choose those simplistic like what do you call them, logos for your guild. It could have something like that in just like you could see like a brand on the arm or something like that on like the shoulder.
Yeah, I
Something
remember in
like cosmetic items.
I remember in the Q&A, I'm really curious about how like selling stuff and trinkets and like crafting in general, how that would all work, because while we do know that crafting is a thing,
Mhm.
the idea of like trinkets and stuff, we don't really know if we find trinkets and that's how you get notes, but rather I think it's more you do quests for certain people and then they give you stuff. It's not more rogue based where you find it, oh, you farm trinkets and then you get certain stuff. It's more you find like treasures, for example, or items that you could then sell to merchants and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's also mention that when Agamatsu finishes his quest, he doesn't actually gain any notes directly, I don't think. Because if you look
Yeah,
at the
he
bottom
doesn't.
right of the screen, he doesn't gain any notes directly, but perhaps he could sell the sparks and things that he gets to get notes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Or-
that could actually be an interesting idea. That instead of quest giving you, at least some quest giving you straight up money, they would give you items, and those
That you could
items
then
would
sell.
equate to like certain amount of money, which you can either sell all of them for that money, or you could keep some of them.
Another thing that I think about like selling and like gaining notes and stuff like that would be it would be similar to Monster Hunter World if you've ever played that, in terms that you would kill a monster, take their parts, and then you would use those to craft certain items or armors. Or
Yeah.
you would craft an item that you could then sell to merchants, and then you would get notes for it, which would make sense.
That would actually make it interesting, because it would somewhat disallow the bot farming with trinkets. You'd
Yeah.
actually have to go out, kill a
Also,
monster, craft something from it, and then sell it.
Also, on a side note, can we just like appreciate how like smooth like the powering up animation is? When the GUI
Yeah.
came up for that, just instant nut.
Yup.
I
Same
agree
here.
with that.
I'm
Like, it
still
just
cleaning
looks
up
so
the semen.
Splooge. Yep, the splooge. It looks
That's
so
gonna be
clean.
cursed.
It's just And then there's like another thing that came up besides like power. I'd assume like your general power, but then another thing that also came up was I think it was ambition or something
Oh
like
yeah.
that. It was ambition increased. So maybe you increase certain skills by doing a certain quest that would increase like what type of quest it is. If you have to rescue somebody, or if you have to fight something, or if you have to go and get something for someone.
Yeah, like I had a similar idea. I think you can hear it in like previous episodes. It was like in the first one, but it was that by doing certain stuff, like collecting stuff or whatever, you would unlock certain skills, right? So like it could, instead of gaining certain skills, you could just gain the skill points instead of a certain skill. It would make the game, I guess, more balanced per se, because it wouldn't be as much grindy, because instead of having to farm out for the skill, you could just farm out for this skill point.
Well, yeah, I think
Also,
skill points are already a thing that we've seen before.
Yeah, that's what I mean basically. But anyway, mentioning the fact what you said about how trading work, I had an idea that it would be cool if the trading would be seasonal based or like player based. The economy, but the play based economy may be too much, but whatever.
The one
Is that
thing.
yeah?
Yeah, the one thing that I really want within DeepOken is more of a marketplace that like World of Magic has, with its selling items and trading. But we already know that drop trading is already in the game, because they did say you need to you can't always trust who you trade.
Yeah.
Well, I had the idea of having a play-based economy where, let's say, if one island someone sells a lot of, I don't know, magnet sparks, yeah? The next person who comes by and tries to sell them as well, they would sell for less, because they have the abundance of that resource, so they would have to sell something else, which was, over time, would become more and more expensive. As well, like, I had the idea if, that may be a little bit of a stretch, but something that could work actually is seasonal based trading, where depending on the season, certain items would become more expensive and certain items would become less expensive. So if you found a frozen gobletto, it would sell for much less in winter than it would sell for in summer. Because in summer, frozen goblettos just don't grow, so NPCs would want it more.
Yeah.
Also, like, it could be a good idea. I know I may be stretching it a bit, but if depending on which NPC you sell it to, it would also change the price a little. So let's say if you sell a sword to a blacksmith, you're gonna pay for it more than a normal, what do you call, plant seller.
Yeah,
Like,
because
if you-
what's a merchant or a botanist gonna do with a sword?
Yeah, botanist.
Yeah.
That was, yeah. It could make like players, more experienced players, just have that slight advantage. I don't mean it would be like horrendous amounts, but let's say like 10 coins or like 20 coins, something like a small amount. Because merchant, if he can't sell something, he should buy it. But yeah, that's like my basic idea for him. So Craig, thank you for coming for the 4th episode of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like, I should be thanking you guys for having me on the podcast. I mean, like, damn, that shit busting.